All right, good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our online class about 313. It's sixth topic of the week. It's what we're doing today. We'll be looking at population and animal ecology. For the past 5 weeks, look at the historical background of animal ecology, value of terrestrial animals and aquatic animals. We look at growth rate and age structures of animal population. We'll also look at measurement of population dynamics. Last week was about competition in animals, the different types of competition that exist in these different animals. So today will be population in animal ecology. So want all to be attentive throughout the class. And since I don't have any participants to join, I want to do the recording now. So before then, I want to do the screenshot and screen sharing. Become prepared for the class. All right, so this is what I have to share now. Okay, I hope everybody could see. So we'll start with the school anthem.
Good evening, class. My name is Dr. Senam Wimekpete, one of your facilitator. I'll be facilitating on file 313, animal ecology. It's going to be an interesting class. Topic 2. So views that we get from the right what we shall be doing this semester. But we'll be looking at historical background of animal ecology, which has to do with terrestrial and aquatic animals. These will be compared together. Also be looking at the growth rates and age structures of this animal, possibly factors that affect the population, what are the measures that are used to estimate population dynamic. We're also be looking at competition. It is stated that there's always competition in these animals. So look at them what are the resources that contribute to competition among these animals. Our topic also covers population and animal ecology, population cell, what are the factors that contribute or control population. Predator-prey relationship will also be examined. This also affects population of either the predator or the prey. Lastly, we will be looking at behavioral ecology. That's the general behaviors of these animals within the environment.
Okay, that was an introductory video of this course that we'll be playing over time regarding what we shall be doing. So today on animal ecology is what we're going to do. It's population and animal ecology. The name still remains Dr. Senam Wimekpete. You can get me on my email, sms@gmail.com. All right, like I said, population and animal ecology. So what is population? It's when we talk about population, it's all organisms that both belongs to the same species and live in the same geographical area. That's what we understand to mean population. What about population genetics? Because when we talk about population, we also talk about population genetics. Population, our population is a set of organisms in which any pair of members can breed together. That is to say that we're talking of individuals that made up a population where they can interbreed and produce offspring. As of 16 March 2011, the world population is expected to be about 6.9 billion. That's 11. So if we are to say 211 and 221 now, it should be more than 7 billion. Yes, it should be more than 7 billion in terms of human population. So it shows that human population is growing in such a way that this has put so much pressure on resources. And it is noted that most of the highest population in the world from China, India, and even Nigeria are also included because we are known to have a population of nearly millions in number. So, as we know that human population increases, there is a growth pattern, yes, that do exist in this population growth over time, right from 17th century to 20th century. Even in the last 50 years, we have seen that advances in the technology substantially influence population growth. Increase in agricultural productivity has also affected population. And easily forget what we know as the Green Revolution, where most countries adopted and were able to use this in order to boost agricultural production. So, how can human population be controlled? Yes, or is it possible for human population to be controlled? Yeah, human population control is a practice of artificially altering the rate of growth of the human population. Altering the growth of the human population. Historically, we can see that human population control has been implemented by limiting the population birth rate, usually by mandates, by government mandates. This has been undertaken as a response to favor or factors, including high or increased level of poverty, environmental concerns, religious reasons, overpopulation. So when government see the needs to control human population, these are the factors that has led to increase in human population. While population control can involve measures that improve people's life by giving them greater control of their reproduction, some programs have exposed them to exploitation. Yes, since government have designed uh, different measures as to control human population in terms of reproduction, it is noted that some people have decided to exploit these programs that have been used. So worldwide, population control movement was active throughout the 1960s and 70s, driving many reproductive health and family planning programs. Whereas in the 1980s, tension grew between population control advocates and women's health activists who advanced women's reproductive rights as a part of human rights-based approach. Growing population to the narrow population control focused to a significant change in population control policies in the early 90s. A simple example of this phenomenon is what happens in China. I think able to control recently this restriction of family having one child has been lifted. For Nigeria, well, it's about personal um, understanding or issues that comes into play. Because the government does not have a policy where each family should have the number of children that they're supposed to have. So it's not restrictive. We don't have such here in Nigeria as government enforcing such a policy. All right, so the chart here shows the human population over the years, right from 19, you can see that world population is now in billion, 19, what do you call it, like 1804, which is what we had. 1927 was about just 2 billion. And in 1959, it increased to 3 billion. 1974, 4 billion. 1984 was about 5 billion. 1999, 6 billion. And like I said, 2012 to 2021, it falls on that range about over more than 7 billion. So if it gets to 2025, according to estimation of forecasts, it's likely that human population will increase or get to 8 billion. And when it climax to 2040, we may have 9 billion. So you can see how dynamic human population is. But what do we mean by population cycle? It's a population cycle. What do you mean? Although we all understand that it's what we know as life cycle. What do you mean by population cycle? Population cycle in zoology is a phenomenon where population rises and falls for a predictable period of time. The rise and fall of population over a period of time. And there are some species where population members or numbers are reasonably predicted or predictable pattern of change throughout the full, reason for population cycle. Some species that we know where population numbers have reasonably predictable pattern of change. Although their full reason of population is not one of the major, ecological problems. And there are a number of factors which influence population change. And we mentioned here some factors such as availability of food, predators, diseases, and also climates. The factor that affects these changes or cycle that we know. Now, the next slide, the next slide. The main biotic factors that affect population could include, like we said, food. We mentioned food, predators, competition, and parasites. These are the major factors that affect population pattern. Okay. So let's talk about food. Food has to be the quantity and quality of food that are available. And they're important because, like snail, cannot be produced successfully in an environment low in calcium. You can imagine if an environment is low in calcium, it will be difficult for snails to reproduce, no matter how much food there is, because they need these for their shells to grow. You can understand. So if the shells are not there, it will be difficult for the snails to reproduce. Then what about the predator? Yes. If the population of the prey increase, it becomes more easier for the predator to find and feed on the prey. But if the number of predators suddenly fall, the prey species might increase in number extremely quick. You can understand? So the prey and the predator numbers affect each other. If the predator numbers are low, it probably means that there's possibility of the prey number to increase. If the prey numbers are low, this will inevitably affect the predators' number. Competition or competitors, other organisms may require the same resources from the environment and so reduce growth of a population. For example, all plants compete for light, so competition for territory and for mate can drastically reduce the growth of individual organisms. So competition, whether it's inter or intra, any mechanized competition will affect population growth. To talk about parasites, this may cause disease and slow down the growth and reproduction rates of organisms with the population. So if you have so much of parasite, even like malaria parasite, affects you now. You know how many things cause devastation in human population. So the next slides, yeah, to also talk about abiotic factor. Once we mentioned the abiotic factors, for temperature, this is the hotness or coldness of any substances or material. A change in temperature may affect reproduction, even in lower organisms. +1 - 1 may even affect or change the sex of an organism. This is noted. So higher temperature may slow down enzymatic transition, and this may increase growth, and lower may not. So temperature is very, very important in population growth, whether it is exponential or logistical. We also have oxygen availability, whether dissolved or atmospheric, and this affects the rate of energy production by respiration, either in humans, either in plants, and so on and so forth, or even aquatic biotons are also affected by dissolved oxygen. Light availability, especially for plants, they're needed, they are quite needed for photosynthesis to take place. This control breeding circles, so know that light control breeding circle in animals, not just animals and also plants. We have toxins and pollutants. These are tissues, chemicals that can grow and they may reduce the pressure. So these toxic chemicals are sulfur dioxide, and they may affect the productive potential of any organism. So these are biotic factors that we mentioned, and these biotic factors can affect the population growth of both land and animal. So we'll now come to first class activity. And the question is, what is the contribution of ecologies on population control? What is the contribution of ecologies on population control? So I'll give you guys 2 minutes or so to see what you can do for this question. All right, okay, now have been able to do one or two things. Now more. So we're talking about population growth, and we mentioned predictor. You can see the chart there shows relationship between the prey and the predictor. We've mentioned this in the other topics in terms of competition. What you must know that it's a form of activity that exists and can also becomes a factor, as you can see. As population of the predator increase, as they gather strain on the population of the prey, they push, as you can see, push the prey downwards instead of decline. See? Thus, both availability of resources and predation pressure affect the size of the prey population. So we can easily determine the extent to which each of these controlled the right population cycle in the Swedish environment. What is a typical experiment that was taken, and as the population of the prey decrease down, you can see that the population of the predator gets to a point where it's also decline gently. Why? Because the availability of prey to be fed are not there. And as it does that, gets to a point that goes as low as the number of prey available, and as the number of the prey increases, so also the number of the predator. So there is this oscillatory pattern that exists between the prey and also the predator. When population study had done, there are different methods of estimation of population. That what takes us to what they call demography, which is a statistical study of human population. It could be direct or indirect. And the direct, what we call the direct data comes from vital statistical registry that tracks all births and deaths, as well as certain changes in legal status, such as marriage, divorce, or migration. So for one to estimate the population, human population, or individuals in the population, these methods becomes easily available to know the sizes or the number that are found in a geographical area. We have the one they call the indirect methods, which includes collecting of data in countries where full data are not available, such as the case in which of the developing ones. So one of the things is that the sinister method where survey researchers ask women how many of their sisters have died or had children at what age. With this survey, researchers can then indirectly estimate death rate for the entire population. So what we're trying to say is that is kind of indirect. It's more like a survey where questions are asked about the number of maybe children your uncles have, the number of children your brother has before they died, I mean, have died in the family, and from such, it can be used to extrapolate the number of individuals that are found in the population. All right, so now comes to class activity 2, where the question says, explain the differences in spraying and defense competition. Explain the differences in spraying and defense in competition. Guys, a few minutes, see what you can do with the class activity. Oh, sorry for that break. And we're back. I was still screenshot. Okay, so we're back. Yeah, So back. Back to our classroom. If you're done, take us to last slides. Thank you for your time. And, as usual, to play the screen. All right, thank you. So let me stop screen sharing. Screen sharing. All right. So we're back to the class. So we had some time each. Having a class. So that is what we have for the week. Urge all students to look at their course material and see areas they can get more information. Once I'll just be able to summarize for the class, especially the demographic aspects of it. Looking at terminologies of course as a group death rate, general fertility rate, age-specific fertility, the group death rate, the infant mortality rate, expenses, expectation of life, total fertility rate, replacement level fertility, the gross reproduction rate, the net reproduction rate, the stable population, the stationary population. These are different types used in demographic study to understand how population study are done. And, looking at some of the histories of demographic where it started, it's as old as time immemorial. And God had to deal with the children of Israel statistics were taken. So it's old, it's not new. And the essence was of doing this was to make available resources or to plan for us to make sure that everybody is accommodated. So you have to look at your lecture notes. And one fact we must know that saying that demographic it's broad topic that is taught in all universities. I'll not be running away from it, especially those in biology that are scared of calculation. So, know what demography is, and you know what indirect and direct demography. So you read the other 8 methods I use in studying demography. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you guys next week. Thanks.